Welcome back, one and all, to another weekly top 10 list here with me, Iadarola and Francesca Fiorentini. While we have her, apparently you're going to be leaving in a bit for a bit.
Yeah, for just a little bit, 2 weeks. That's not a long time. Well,
it's going to be sad. And you're going to come back and you're going to have seen all the fun we had with our fill-ins, and you'll be like, man, don't replace me. And I'm going to be like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't leave the country. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, you definitely deserve your time away, and I hope that it's awesome.
Thank you.
That said, while she deserves time away, you all deserve so much. But you might have been propagandized too about it. You might be scared of some of the things that could improve the quality of your life. And we're gonna run through a list of our top 10 things that we think fit into those categories. Would you like to go first? Assuming you have a list.
I do have a list. Shut up. I have a list. Okay, number 5 for me is multilingualism or bilingualism. I think this is something that Americans have been trained to not like. And not all, of course, it depends on your background and if your parents do speak other languages, right? Obviously, you've got immigrant parents. That's not the case, but I think generally, especially the right-wing media, it's like, there are foreign voices here. Like I once saw a review for a hike and someone was like, if you don't like foreign voices, don't go on this hike. And I was like,
what the hell?
What does that mean? It means like somebody, if there's I guess there's tourists and there's foreigners who go on this popular hike. But I'm serious.
That is madness.
It's madness, and I also think like, look, Spanish is an awesome language. Everyone should learn it. I don't know what the stats are and how many people in this country do speak Spanish, but this was all Mexico at some point, or so a lot of it was. But the point is this: we're in America, the Americas. We call ourselves America, and yet we're just the United States. And we need more bilingualism, whether it's Rosita on Sesame Street, whether it's Dora the Explorer, but more than that, we shouldn't be afraid of that. It's enriching, you get smarter, it's so fun. It's great to learn other languages and listen to music in other languages, and we shouldn't be so trained to hate that.
I agree. I love that one. I didn't think of that. I'm a bad person, but that is a great inclusion.
No.
It would be great. It would be fulfilling, and also has totally been like fear mongered about. You're totally right.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, it's sort of related to that. I was talking with Jenk recently, and we've been talking about like sort of the culture war of the season, how the right picks up these things, then totally forgets about them. Do you remember when the right lost their mind for like a year or two that Sharia law was going to take over the American judicial system?
Yeah. That was like Tea Party stuff.
Yeah. Where did that go? I thought that was a serious threat. The whole thing is ridiculous. Anyway, my number 5 is gonna be one of the most timely. I believe that we deserve paid leave, paid medical leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, grievance leave if you need it. You deserve time off, basically. And they are, as we speak, being told to think it's a ridiculous thing to expect. That the idea that you would want to spend time with like your stupid kid or your dumb wife or husband rather than with your boss, what's wrong with you? But they're actually being told that by people that masquerade as like alpha males. Like you're being told by Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson and Lauren Boebert and everything that you shouldn't, that you don't deserve this, that you shouldn't push for it. You should just willingly give it up. Not have access to it and choose whether to use it or not, but that no one should even have the option of taking it. I think that that's insane and self-destructive.
Yeah. You want free stuff? I want a whole ice cream truck. Oh no, your free things. No, man, I want to take care of my ailing like husband or child. Calm down. All right.
I mean, I'm not gonna be in the same room, but I want the time off at least.
Yeah, I mean, gross, but I'll be playing video games,
What's your number 4?
Number 4 for me is it's a lot of other things, but I think not being able to embrace the fluidity of gender and sexuality is something that is keeping us from living our lives fully, from hating one another, from hating ourselves, and from also just kind of being more chill with all of that, right? And more inclusive, and maybe even having more fulfilling romantic and sexual lives. So I think that I don't think you need to be obsessed with obliterating the gender dichotomy, meaning like, oh, if you have a baby and it's a boy, like don't get any, or you know what I'm saying? Like don't be like everything must be a tan shade, no blue or pink, so my child doesn't get confused. Like I think some people can take
Everyone
that too.
wears green.
Exactly, it's all the stuff that Ben Shapiro picks up on, because like one person one time like refused to have pink or blue in their baby room, and he thought, he made a whole episode out of it, whatever. Yeah. But I do think that everyone would live fuller, happier lives if we understood, like, what is it? What's not the Keynesian spectrum, Kinsey spectrum, right? Like around sexuality.
The sexual spectrum, yeah.
The sexual spectrum, and also understood that around gender identity, and that you can love many different kinds of people, and that you will probably have better sex. And that's it. I think that keeps a lot of people back.
And
myself included. I'm not liberated.
In any of this. Let's also remember that. Some aren't interested in any of this stuff.
Oh yeah, and people who are like, I'm, my sexuality is asexual. That's all good,
Yeah, no, I like that too. That's great. Yeah, our lists so far are very different, and I like that. We'll see if there's any crossover, in fact. My number 4 is going to be, I believe that Americans deserve access to whatever level of education or job training they want to have access to. And that's gonna be very different from person to person. Not everybody wants to go to grad school, not everyone wants to go to college. Some people might not even want to go to high school. I think it's probably a good idea, you should probably do that. But beyond that, I think it should be up to you. And if you want that, for whatever, if you want to become a creative writer or an electrical engineer, or you want to take a divinity seminar, you should be able to do that without mortgaging your future economically, without saddling yourself inexorably with tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt that no matter how economically responsible you are afterward, you might find it impossible to get rid of that, maybe even to significantly cut it in 30 or more years. I don't think that we can say that we are truly free if we are not free to pursue the sorts of lives that we want without irreparable economic harm. So I think you deserve access to that. You don't have to take it. If you choose not to, that's perfectly fine. You should have access to funds to start businesses and all that stuff. But if you want that, it should be available to you at a reasonable price or free.
Amen. Yeah, and you've been,
oh yeah, keep going.
No, but I also think, when it comes to college, it's both people on either side. Republicans say that it's all like, liberals trying to indoctrinate you around critical race theory or whatever it is, and higher learning is bad, and you just hate the working man, which is not true. Yeah. And I think that some liberals play into this like BS elitism that college and university has, that it should not have, right? And it, especially when it comes to like Ivy League BS, I don't get it. I didn't go. I'm glad that you said that, because I didn't actually explain the propaganda. Like they have been trained to believe that there is no reason you would want to do that. Not that it should be up to you, but that it's suspicious to be there. It's just about indoctrination. There's no point in pursuing your curiosity on these topics, and I think that's ridiculous and self-destructive. Totally. And also there's a myth that like you have to go only to get more money, which we all know is not true. And if you don't make more money because you have a college degree, well, then that means college degrees are worthless. But I totally disagree with that. Yeah. I think they're really important. I mean, you don't have to get the degree, just go to a bunch of college. I wish I could still go to college.
Me too.
All right, my number 3 is Americans have been trained to fear and hate car-free communities, and they deserve them. So more.
Look at this lefty over here with their car-free green spaces.
Yeah,
urban reclamation projects.
Yes.
Rooftop gardens.
Yes, I love all of that. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Like a lot of our grandparents, people our grandparents' age, remember a time when there weren't, massive highways or big roads running through communities. And I happen to live on a pretty big road, and I don't really know my neighbors on the other side of the road because it's like kind of a big road, and like it's loud. It ruins my quality of life, probably my lungs and the air that I breathe. But it kind of divides communities, and we know that that's been done in Black and brown communities also. But like places and areas that are walkable, that are accessible through public transportation, that are clean, free from pollutants, supposedly that's not freedom, right? Because, well, no, freedom is being able to drive onto the beach. I need to be able to drive into an old growth forest and comfortably take photos from my air conditioned car. Like, that's not actually freedom. So freedom isn't getting to drive your car everywhere. Sometimes freedom can be actually just having a car-free environment and a pollutant-free environment.
I always love the idea of living briefly in New York. It seems like the easiest place to get around without it. I just love the idea of it. I don't know how I would do in practice with it, of just being able to just use public transport or whatever.
Oh, it's great.
But I mean, most of my life I've had cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. You can get home at 3 a.m, drunk after a party. Like eventually the train will come. You're gonna wait 45 minutes, but it's coming. You're not gonna wait 3 hours, and it's still running.
Yeah,
it's really, really fun if you live by a train, and yeah. Although I know the MTA is kind of in disarray, but it's a good life. It's not bad.
Sounds good. I like it.
Can you walk to? I mean, like also being able to walk to a grocery store.
Yeah. That's true, yeah. And I saw some posts going around, I think they went viral on like Reddit about, like they'd show screenshots of a city, like Dusseldorf or something like that. And it'll be like this massive like highway. And then they show it now and it's all been reclaimed as parks and walking space. It just looks so much better, I like it. My number 3 is going to be, I think you deserve to have influence over the decision that our country makes on whether to go to war or not, and I feel like that doesn't really ever exist. Like they say, like Barack Obama can't have a Supreme Court justice. We should wait and have an election about it. Okay, that's ridiculous. But I feel like if we're going to invade an entire region of the world, maybe we should wait and vote. But also, more importantly than that, even if we did that, there is like no topic that the American people are not more bludgeoned into compliance on than the decision to go to war. Like there's no holds barred when it comes to making anyone who believes that, hey, maybe we don't have to invade everyone you've randomly come up with, is not unpatriotic, anti-American and all that. We've seen it multiple times throughout our life. And it sucks. And very often the way that the form that it comes in is that they just don't even talk about the conflicts. Like what percentage of the American public like really know literally anything about what's happening in Yemen? No. Like we were helping for years and virtually no one knows that it even exists. So we deserve to be involved in these things. These are international expressions of our values, and most people don't even know that those values are being expressed or which ones we're choosing and which we might. That's my number
100%. Yeah, put it to a vote. Although I'd also be kind of scared because I feel like people would say yes.
I would be scared of that too. But I also think that we should have open conversations as a country about what it means to do this, what the effects of prior military adventures have been. I'm not saying that everything needs to be put up to a direct ballot measure, but I do think we should be informed about this, and it should affect people's chance of re-election, all sorts of things like that.
For sure. Okay, number 3, I thought I had gotten there, but we've been trained to think that the right to live our lives without being shot by some stray bullet or a mass shooter is somehow bad because it goes against the Second Amendment. And that is the worst. We've been indoctrinated to believe that any kind of gun reform means it infringes on our freedom. We put the freedom of someone who owns guns or someone who wants to go on a shooting rampage above the lives of children, above the lives of adults, above everyone's lives, time and time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. The freedom to not get shot, man. Come on. We deserve to live safely. And it's the biggest trick that the Republicans have ever pulled, convincing us that gun control is not part of national security.
Mm-hmm.
That Sharia law is coming for us more than, no, you're more likely to be shot. And again, that goes for any kind of, whether it's gun violence, in low income neighborhoods, drug related gun violence, or gun violence related to a base that's been whipped up by racism and xenophobia.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I think the only disagreement I would have is, I think there's some bigger tricks. I feel like turning like the working class against each other along racial lines so that they never challenge entrenched power. I feel like that's a bigger trick, but you're totally right. It is a big trick and I hate it.
It's a big trick.
Okay, my number 2 is going to be, I'm just gonna put this as an equitable distribution of the product of their labor. You should be able to believe that someday your wages will go up, that you will be able to retire, that something of what you and millions of others like you have made will ever benefit you or people like you rather than just being sucked up by the people at the top. That like the strength of our economy should not be measured by like, I wonder if Elon Musk will hit $500 billion this year. But we are told that almost any effort to improve the quality of your life through wages, time off, anything like that is incredibly suspicious. Don't trust those people, don't listen to those people. No, we'll make you better off, but it's always going to be funneled through your bosses, through the CEOs, through the corporation, and maybe someday it will trickle down onto you. That's the only way it can ever work. Make things infinitely easier for your bosses, and maybe someday they'll pass on a bit of that to you. And I know what you're thinking, but they've never done that before. I hear you, let's try it for another century. That's what we hear, I think, as a people, and it's
Yep, 100%. Oh,
we're not on linear, right? That's acceptable, I can swear. What, this just goes on YouTube, right? We'll bleep it out, I apologize. I think you should be able to swear, but Marissa has propagandized against you.
I thought we could bleep in the top 10.
This just goes on YouTube, it's not live, right? Anyway, I apologize if I made anyone's job more difficult. Apologies. What's your number 1?
Number 1
or unless you had anything to say about that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Okay. I think that
I expected pushback on that.
We deserve to not have to be like, just feeding, making sure the boss is comfortable. I mean, one day I'll be a boss, but until then I must be a worker bee and eat their crumbs. But one day, like, just no, we deserve not to be.
I heard a bit of Greta there.
No, there's no Greta. There's no Greta. You don't get Greta.
Blah, blah, blah.
Just a worker bee. We are more than just a worker bee. What will Greta do? What is she gonna do? Like, what's she gonna do with her life? Greta needs to get a job.
It's like, oh my God. Anyway, what's your number 1?
Number 1, by the way, all these are sad because I feel like other than like 1 or 2, they pretty much just apply to the United States. Whereas like people who obviously are fans from abroad are like, well, we've got all that in my country. We've got free college. We've got a lot of green spaces. We're very bilingual. We mostly speak English, in fact, even though, that's not our language of birth. Anywho, number 1 thing that Americans deserve, they've been trained to fear or hate, is leisure time. Is, the time to do nothing, have fun, spend with your family, go on a walk. And I don't mean like do exercise for, self-improvement. I don't mean do grocery shopping. I don't mean paint your house. I don't mean the stuff that the laundry, the things you have to do. I mean just do nothing, hangout time, joyful and relaxed, swinging on a swing, stomping around in a river, like good stuff.
That sounds fun. What about stomping around on grapes while you're interning as a senator in a California winery? I think everyone deserves time off. You're right. We are trained in a similar way. Basically, that ties in with my last one. That like don't just produce. Your blood and sweat are not for you. They're for us, and you give it to us.
Well, I mean, and Americans are super trained on that. Like, again, I think it's when I came back to the States after living abroad, I lived abroad, I don't know if anyone knew. No, but one of the things I kept on realizing is that what we say when we meet someone for the first time is we ask them what they do, right? Where that was not common where, at least in a lot of places, I think it's like, you don't really ask people what they do for a living as like the second or third thing out of your mouth. You just sort of like meet them and like, what do they like? You have an experience with them. Rather than like, what's your reason for living? I'm sorry. How do you put food on the table? Why are you here? And it's we have to watch ourselves on that.
Yeah. I always ask what their sign is. I think that's more productive. Nobody seems to like it when I do that, though. That's a weird thing. Anyway, don't ask what you do. Ask why you are. Anyway, I'm gonna be unbearable when I go to a party. I do like that though. And even I have a hard time. Like you don't want to be away for a long time. But like I'm lucky enough that I like my job. I've had many other jobs that I was perfectly happy to take time off from. But yeah, we always do feel like, oh God, are we giving enough?
Yeah.
Are we taking enough? We need to switch that JFK thing. Like it's been enough with that. Okay.
Yes.
Now you're gonna give to us.
Yes.
Anyway. My last one is going to be perhaps not that surprising. I believe that you deserve and have been propagandized against on your right to a climate conducive to human life on our planet. And not being told that, like, how dare you ever do anything to limit pollution, to keep species alive, to stop climate change from happening. You're hindering business, and business is better than you. And like we can make decisions, we can balance different concerns. We're not gonna go live in the hollowed out trunks of trees or anything like that. But sadly, we deserve to have a planet that we can live in, that food can continue to be produced, that our coasts won't become inundated with storms. And we have been told continually to put our interest in a planet that can sustain our life behind the interests of oil moguls who are already 85 years old or are trying to rack up an artificial scoreboard of their personal wealth before they finally kick off in a few. And so that's a ridiculous thing that we've allowed ourselves to be co-opted into, and we need to start to question it.
Yeah, that we, or that any of the that we buy.
This is not Marissa's day. Sorry, Marissa. Oh man. Sorry.
Any of the bull crap that we buy is better than protecting our forests and our trees and our air. That we're so disconnected from nature that I think we don't have any value for that. And everything that we buy ultimately to fill the sadness in our hearts, that also ultimately comes from nature. But also maybe you can go take a walk and feel a little bit less sadness. So.
Stomp around in a river or
in a river,
perhaps. And if the thing that you buy doesn't give you enough joy, you're not buying enough stuff or big enough stuff. Buy bigger things. Anyway, Francesca, as always, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John.
I deserved to have you on, and I'm glad that I finally got what I deserved. So thank you for being here. For all of you. You deserve the top 10 list because you're tier 2 or tier 3 members. So thank you for that. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any requests, you can post them in the comments down below. And until next time, we'll see you with a different top 10 list in about 7 days.